This is Kinjal Vaghasiya. Here is my presentation on Indian banking system. Here are the functions of commercial banks. The functions of commercial banks in that first and basic one is to receive deposits from the public. That is demand deposits, fixed deposits and saving deposit. Second is to make loans and advances. If these two conditions, the main basic two conditions cannot be fulfilled by the bank, then definitely it is not called a bank. So to make loans and advances, the first one is loans may be advanced against tangible securities. Of course, the banks only gives advance against tangible securities. Then the loans may be advanced by a bank by offering facilities for discounting bills of exchange. Of course, they provide their customers the discounting bills of exchange. Loans may be advanced by granting overdraft facilities. Here, the customers can also avail the benefit of overdraft facilities. Loans may be advanced by creating deposits. Of course, by creating the deposit of the public, the banks can create the credit and can advances the loan from them. Third one is to make investments. Of course, the banks do investments too. Then to provide a cheap and convenient medium of exchange. Of course, the customers can get convenient and cheap medium of exchange via bank. Then to finance foreign trade. If the business needs to trade, that is, the business needs the finance for the foreign trade, then here the bank is there to their rescue. Here there are so many transactions that the bankings are doing for the foreign trade. That is it like an agent of their customers. Of course, they are acting like an agent for the customers. Then sell and purchase the shares and securities on behalf of the customers. Banks also sell and purchase the shares and securities. Then provide safety walls or lockers. The banks provides the safety walls and lockers to their customers. Of course, we just if we want to put our ornaments or any important documents in safety walls or lockers, then the banks provides them. Acts as a trustee or an executive. Then supply information in advance if we need any basic information and any advice of investment. Then the here is the bank. Issue credit instruments if needed. Then provide agency services. Here, the bank is also ready for providing agency services. Then, to provide miscellaneous service, there are so many miscellaneous services which are provided by the bank. Then, importance of commercial banks. There are so many benefits that the public can avail from the commercial banks. First is mobilizing savings. If we are not here, if we are in another city and we want to mobilize our savings in our account, then the bank comes to the rescue. Second is providing finance to agriculture. Of course, our country's agriculture is now in poor condition. So if our agriculture needs finance, the banks is there and providing them the finance. Providing finance to industry for the establishment, for running the industry, what not the industry needs, right? Each and everything, each and every activity is based on the finance. So here, the commercial bank also providing them the finance. Providing finance to trade for the trading purpose, providing finance for consumers durables, providing finance for career building to the students, right? Then providing a transmission mechanism. So all these are the important functions of the business. And then credit creation by banks. Of course, the bank also creates credit. Primary deposits and derivative deposits are the two types of deposits. In that, there are broadly two ways in which a bank can create credit. So many two ways are there through which the banks can create the credit. First is by advancing loans on the cash credit basis or by granting overdraft facilities. Here, by advancing loans, by granting and by facilitating the overdraft facilities to the customers, the banks can create the credit for themselves. Second is by purchasing securities and paying for them with its own check. Here, on behalf of the customers, they are purchasing the securities too and paying the check or paying the amount on behalf of the customers too with its own check. Here is the equation for credit creation too. That is credit creation equal to primary deposits divided by cash reserve ratio into 100. Limitations of credit creation. Where there are the benefits of credit creation, there are some limitations too. First is the total amount of cash which the commercial banks possess. If the commercial bank don't possess the enough amount of cash, then they cannot create the credit. Next is the amount of cash which the public wishes to hold. If the public wishes to hold more cash on hand with themselves, then the amount of cash they cannot deposit or they don't deposit in the bank. So here, if they don't deposit in the bank, then also it is one of the limitation for the banks that they cannot create the credit. The ratio of cash reserves deposits. Here, if the cash reserve ratio is very lesser than the deposit, then also it is one of the limitation for credit creation. nature of business condition. If it is not good, then the transactions are very lower and banks cannot get the credit, and they cannot create the credit. Needs to acquire assets, leakages in credit creation, total reserves of the banks as a whole. So these all are the limitations of credit creation. Then banking system in India. Now, what are the banking system in India and what is it? First is the RBI. We all know that the Reserve Bank of India is the first, the prior and very dominant bank of our India, right? Here, it is the ruling bank, and each and every commercial bank comes under RBI. Second is SBI, that is State Bank of India, and is seven associate banks. Then commercial banks here, scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. It is also the part of commercial banks, public and private banks, Indian banks and foreign banks. Then after regional rural banks, there is RRBs, cooperative banks, development banks. There are two kind of development banks: industrial development banks and agriculture development banks. Here, this development banks is working for industrial development too and for the agricultural development too of our country. Exim Bank of India, National Housing Bank, and payment banks. Achievements of nationalized banks. Now, what are the achievements of the nationalized bank? First is a predominant position. Of course, they are having predominant position in our country. Second is a impressive mobilization of deposit. They are doing the mobilization of deposit, but it is very impressive because they are doing in an excellent manner. Then substantial increase on advances. If you want to avail the advances, then substantial increase you can see by the nationalized banks. Total credit and deposits of RRBs, that is regional rural banks. Innovative bankings are there. In innovative banking, so many functions are there. There is saving schemes, loans, mechanization, and computerization processes, various measures. And technological upgradation. Of course, due to upgradation of the technology, the nationalized banks can do more efficiently and their works can be very efficient. Diversification in banking operations, core banking, training facilities, etc. are given by the nationalized banks. Now, the evaluation of the working of nationalized banks. Here, what are the workings of nationalized banks and what kind of work they are doing? Banking facilities are still inadequate. Well, their banking facilities, that is, the technology has been advanced so much that still some banking facilities are inadequate. Regional imbalances in branch expansion, for example, if the rural bank is there or the bank is situated in the rural area, then still some imbalances is there, right? Branch expansions are there, but some basic facilities are needed. Then deposit mobilization in rural areas is not very encouraging. Here the people are not that much aware about the banking transactions, so deposit mobilization is very less or in a lesser number than the urban area. Low operational efficiency. Of course, the operational efficiency, or we can say the functions efficiency, is lower as compared to the urban area. Low profitability of the public sector banks. Public sector banks profitability is too low, we can say that. And politicization of public sector banks. Of course, there is so many political parties and there are so many political transactions that is done by the political parties, so the performance of the nationalized banks becomes very poor. Thank you so much. This was all about my presentation. Thank you.